Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Well. So, hi, welcome to the show. The Republicans have been referred to as a clown car, as a car wreck. It is quite a show, isn't it? It is so embarrassing. I mean, if you were a Republican, wouldn't you be embarrassed? So they are incapable of electing a speaker. Maybe this next guy will win. He has the kind of record that would suggest that Donald Trump, the leader, would be happy with him. This is a guy who it checks all the boxes. He will never say that Trump didn't win that election. He voted to. I mean, he's classic. I think he might win unless you have the few Republicans who are in these districts that Biden won, and which puts them in a more precarious state to go full on MAGA. So I just can't imagine. It's beyond belief. But I came upon a quote from one of these clowns. He's a congressman from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I never heard of the guy. His name is Dan Muser or Moiser or Meuser. What hapless folk he represents, I do not know. But he is quoted as telling the Washington Post that he views Donald Trump as the head of the party. And he has wide-ranging support, said the congressman. And he says this. So you need to respect that. You need to respect him. You need to respect him and his support. They're the customer, right? The constituents are the customer. I found that statement so telling. There it is. I mean, this guy clearly never took sort of a basic political science class. I never in a political science class would that analogy be used, that the constituents are the customers. So you serve them, or you live in fear of them, because you are the what product that you're trying to sell. I can't even begin to imagine. So if all that is true, and what he is saying is, look, they love Trump. And if the customer is always right, then I love and respect Trump. Whoa. As for my own, can you imagine what goes on in their heads? All they want is to retain the power they have. And it appears that the only way they think they can do that is to do what their customers want. They really believe the customer is always right. Well, if the MAGA Republicans are equate to customers, I think that puts the lie to that adage. They are right in one way, directionally, but that's about it. You need to respect that, he says, that the base loves Trump. They're the customer, right? Wow. I have to, I mean, I just read that and I still am, I can hear my, a certain level of incoherence about trying to explain why that hit me so strongly. But that's not right. It's not right. I mean, your mother once said, well, if everybody was jumping off a cliff, would you jump off the cliff? You know, but everybody's doing it. Everybody says. I mean, sort of a basic rule of growing up, of getting your own 2 feet under you, of having the ability to think for yourself would certainly negate saying something like this guy said. Incredible. You know what else I was thinking? I was thinking that while we are so unhappy with this party, while we watch in dismay at the shutting down of our government, essentially, by them, and watch poison they have injected into the body politic, there are people who are loving it, who are thrilled, who can't believe it, who the joy, the delirious joy by some at what these Republicans are doing. Can you imagine at the Kremlin? Oh man, loving it. In North Korea, in Iran, in China, in any country that wishes the United States ill. Oh my God, how they love it. So I'm getting close to thinking of the Republican Party as a party of traitors, a party who, through their actions and or inactions, aid and abet the enemies of our country, the very enemies that these idiots took an oath to defend us from. It's a traitorous party, aiding and abetting those who would take us down. For that matter, they would take us down. They're all about deconstruction. They are not about construction. They have no policies other than spreading hate and fear. of my favorite writers, Tom Nichols, took a whack at him the other day, trying to understand. I think this was actually when, can you imagine how long ago this was? What was it, just 3 days ago, when Jim Jordan was trying to become the speaker? I mean, go ahead. I dare you to name the people who have tried since McCarthy. There was McCarthy, then there was who? I'm asking. Police or somebody else. Who was that? I'm already forgetting. But I've never been good with names. Then who? I mean, that their caucus, puts these guys forward, and they don't even make it out of the room before they say, "I can't, I won't. You can't make me. I am not willing to be humiliated." And now this guy, who you never heard of, this aider and abettor of the insurrectionist in chief. Maybe the fix is in now. Maybe they're going to say we gotta, because we're being made fools of. I mean, if it's possible to corral these cats. Nichols said that he has watched in fascination and horror at the inability of the so-called party, the traitor party, to actually elect one of their own to lead the chamber that the voters of this country put in charge. And he ends up sort of where the Pennsylvania congressman I quoted to you, the guy who sees himself as a product and the people he's supposed to serve as customers. He thinks the problem is with the customers, as do I. And as I said, you can send Trump to jail. You can get rid of some of these guys. But a good 40% of our voters vote for them. They looked at them and they said, yep, that's who I want. And a lot of us have tried to understand why. And Nichols says the problem is that these voters have now, I mean, we say they're brainwashed, they're members of a cult. They have truly, completely internalized the nihilism and cynicism of Trump and all of those cowardly Republican office holders who hold him up out of fear, if not conviction. And these voters draw no connection whatsoever between their votes and the health and security of their country. None. They rely on people like you and me, probably those of us as they would call our, in the deep state, to keep things running, to actually pass some legislation here and there, to, keep, do we even have trains to be kept running? Kind of, sort of, when they're not derailing. But they have given up any, if they ever had it, any commitment to being a serious exerciser of their franchise. All they want is to rip things apart and blow things up. And so they vote for the guys who are going to do that. They vote for masters of performative nonsense. Jim Jordan never passed a bill in his life, but does really good circuses. Matt Gaetz. Do nothing, these guys, nothing for their customers other than put on a hell of a show. These voters have, this is Tom Nichols now speaking, these voters have almost no interest in anything like conservatism or even in any coherent policy. No, they just want to indulge resentments and grievances that have little to do with government and everything to do with boredom and dissatisfaction of their own lives. They project this anger that they've internalized and sourness onto everything around them. They desire chaos. So, existing order needs to be shaken up or burned down or defunded, whatever. They think this way, he says, because they have never had to live under a government that has actually been shaken up, burned down, or defunded, although they're getting close. And the Republicans have made now, the stars of the Republican Party are all the ones who have made their entire political career, not about politics, but about grandstanding and encouraging this kind of nihilism. And they're delivering what these voters, and this is what scares me, because these voters are still going to be voting. They're delivering what these voters want. Show trials, passion plays, and seeing other people unsettled and angry. These are voters, these are Americans who vote not for legislators who have ideas and complicated plans. I mean, come on, that's just so boring. No, they vote for entertaining rogues. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, Jim Jordan, Boebert. I can go on and on. The clowns who can liven up the Fox primetime hours. And Nichols ends with this. I used to think that Republican voters would demand changes from the party if the GOP lost enough elections. But even losses don't seem to matter to them. This is a party now that is clearly more comfortable with performance art centered on imaginary grievances than with actual governing. This performance they're putting on now in the House could well cost them the House in the next election. But you know what? Their voters really don't care, because they'll just get another episode of their favorite show. And for them right now, they're enjoying it. Milton has sent me showing where this idiot congressman from Pennsylvania's district is. And he's a big hunk of mostly northeastern Pennsylvania, but down. It's a big swath. Wow. Up, abutting the New York, and then going down its eastern edge, probably touching the more liberal parts of places like Bucks County or Philadelphia. It's a big district, but it's mostly rural. But anyway, that's where that nitwit's from. So he's got customers all over that big, huge swath of PA. You know, it's weird to see how politics is just performance art. How Trump, more than anybody else, brought that to the fore and showed the power of it, and how so many politicians in other countries paid attention. And so you see these mini Trumps popping up here and there. There was Bolsonaro. What was he? Argentina, I think. And there's one attempting, no, he was Brazil. Right? Bolsonaro was Brazil. There's another wannabe patterning himself after Trump in Argentina. You might have paid some attention to that, most Americans. This was they've got a presidential vote going on there in Argentina, and there was an election on Sunday, and nobody got, I think they had to get 45% of the vote to win it. I don't think they had to have 50 or over, but nobody did. They had enough candidates running that they split it up. The guy who people thought might win it outright astonishingly came in second. That's the Trump wannabe. And I was so relieved when I saw that. It doesn't, I mean, now he's in a runoff, one-on-one, with a much more liberal politician. But maybe you've read about this guy here, and that people actually vote for people like this. I mean, who cares what his name is? Javier Milei. He's called the Pope, who, by the way, right, isn't he from Argentina? He's called the Pope a leftist thug. I mean, this in a Catholic country, you would think that would be not good. He's called China, which is Argentina's second largest trade partner, an assassin. He just, everything he says makes people say, oh my God, what? He wants to loosen any controls on guns. He has claimed he is the victim of voter fraud, and he's done that before the election ever took place. He has definitely said that Trump was the victim of voter fraud, as was Bolsonaro, who got booted out next door. He has said that the January 6th insurrection was a leftist plot. And when Bolsonaro was voted out and they had a similar immediate attack on their capital, he said the same thing. So you see how, I mean, there's just absolutely following the playbook that Trump has put out. And this guy, it was expected he was going to win. He was polling. He's hot. He's great copy. He's vulgar. He's attacked every institution in the country. He's gone after media. You have to discredit media. He distrusts science, and he's a total narcissist. And he's trying to build a cult of personality around himself. He's doing the Trump thing. And up until Sunday, when he came in second, that's hard on a narcissist. But he's still alive. So we got the runoff coming. His people, his customers are wearing "Make Argentina Great Again" hats. The only interview he's done for any American outlet was with, go ahead, fill in the blank. It's not an outlet, it's a person. Yes. He sat down with Tucker Carlson. He's called the Argentinian government a criminal organization, blah, 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 blah. And it works. I mean, he's got people so excited, huge, huge crowds. Here's a quote. I just wanted to get to a quote because this reminds me of the Republican voters here. So this is not so much, what's happening here, lest we think it's some kind of an American phenomenon. It is not. This is, again, that pesky human nature that I'm always blaming everything on. The need for people to have somebody that they can look up to, they can tell them everything will be okay, that will distract them from their misery. Not that they're going to do anything about their misery, but make them feel good, banding together in their misery. So there's a woman who's quoted in this article from a week or so ago. Yes, everybody says he's crazy. But who better than a crazy person to move the country forward? She's described as a 57-year-old butcher shop owner, so a small businesswoman, old enough to know better. Who better than a crazy person to move the country forward? The sane ones didn't do anything, she said. You want to know what the problem is? The problem. Well, look in the mirror, people. It'd be us. What is that great old cartoon that no longer exists, Pogo? Didn't he famously, like in the 30s or something, say we met the enemy and he is, I got it wrong, and he is us or something. And there it is. That's it. All righty, got a caller here. Hello.
Hey, good morning.
Hi.
Hi. I don't know if this is possible, but I mean, when I was reading the live vote a couple of weeks ago, like the first time Jordan didn't get the majority, every time I see it, I see Hakeem Jeffries gets 211, right?
Right.
For the Democrats. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So you need 218. But what I do notice is, all the other Republicans getting a myriad of votes too. And I know I'm probably misunderstanding something, but couldn't the Democrats say, okay, we need to get off go. We got to get functioning, okay? And just say, okay, hey, that guy isn't such a crazy Republican. We're going to vote for him and get 218. Is that a possibility, or am I living in la la land?
Well, no, but if they put up somebody who wasn't crazy, yeah, it's a possibility. But this guy that's now up, Johnson, he's crazy.
No. I understand that. No. But what I'm saying is, when they showed the votes,
yes.
There was multiple Republicans on the back.
Yes, but the Democrats have decided that, this is, that classic thing about if your enemy is busy, self-destructing, just sit and watch. Let them do it.
But
now you're right.
What if
you get to a point where their self-destruction threatens, much greater destruction. There are some Democrats who have said they were willing to get behind this pro tem guy for a bit, but they require there's an attempt to do some bargaining with some people, but they haven't been able to get a deal with anybody. I'm sure there's plenty of efforts being made by the few clear heads on the Republican side, with some Democrats willing. But so far, think of all the times you've seen the headline, Democrats in disarray. The Democrats are showing an incredible, and have for years, this sort of solidity. And it's the Republicans that are forever in disarray. But somehow that designation still applies to Democrats. I don't know. I don't know if someone will figure a way out. The reality, I have this sense that Republicans, seeing the damage that's being done to their brand, might just be able to cobble together enough votes to put this idiot in and to prevent this circus from going another round or two. I don't know. I've heard that it could end in Kevin McCarthy being voted back in.
But so, because it's an opportunity for the Democrats. Because so I'm a little old fashioned. I go back to the day where not all Republicans were nut jobs. Okay, and I still don't believe all Republicans are nut jobs.
I'm beginning to wonder.
It's getting smaller and smaller, those guys who aren't crazy. And women too. It's usually guys, but their women are nuts too.
Oh, their women are some of their craziest. And in fact, if you look at all the people they put forward, it's just a blinding sea of white guys.
Oh God.
It's just, so I have to say, I don't know. I am going to Hakeem Jeffries, fooled by the brilliant Nancy Pelosi, I think knows exactly what he's doing. And he understands his job, and he does care about the government and the country. And so I'm going to assume that what he's doing at this moment makes sense. I have no idea what's really going on behind closed doors, but I think it would be foolish to make any deal with these Republicans, because they're liars, they're dishonorable. They've shown it over and over again. The Democrats helped out McCarthy at one point, and he turned around and stabbed him in the back and blamed whatever on him. They are dishonorable. And you can't be, there's no party there to negotiate with.
Isn't it weird? Okay, so he turned around and stabbed the Democrats in the back. And the reason he's gone is because a lot of Republicans are saying the same damn thing. It's insanity.
Yeah. Well,
what it is. So it was interesting you started the show with we got to answer to the customer or something like that. So it's you're just, and I remember Ross, I think it was Ross Perot he said, no, the voters aren't the customer. They're like the owner or the boss or something like that. And I get more what Ross Perot was saying. But at the same time, you're supposed to be, you're supposed to try to do the right thing, no matter
That's right.
what.
You're elected. You are elected to do the right thing. That's why I said this guy never went to a political science class. I mean, there's always anyone who thinks that the job of being a representative is to blindly do what your customers are telling you to do is not serious, because we wouldn't need representatives then if that's all it was. We could just have a direct, absolutely direct democracy if that's the case. Right?
I mean, like Liz Cheney, she's a good example of this now, and I don't agree with any of her politics, but you do the right thing, and hey, you know what? If they didn't like you and they vote you out, you say, well, you can walk away from the job and say, I can do the same thing at my job right now.
That's right. Anybody can.
I'm gonna do the right thing, and if my boss says that's not what I want, you're fired. Like, I could walk away with my head held high. Whether I'm right or wrong, but at some point I have. It's just calling him principles, right?
Well,
and being responsible.
Principles? Did you say principles?
Sorry, is that in the dictionary anymore?
Well, not for them. They have none. There's another P word is what they're about, and that's power. And they're cowards. They're just cowards. And the power that Donald Trump still has, as the arms of the law close in on him, is just amazing. This crook, this unbelievable traitorous crook, and they're still kneeling to him, even though we know they don't like him, and they think he's a crook, and they think he's unprincipled, but they are cowards.
When you think you can't go any lower, yes, you can.
Oh yeah. Oh no. How low can you go? Yeah, that's right. All righty. Hey, I thank you.
Well, no, let me ask you this. So, but what I'm saying is, when I was talking about the vote, if the Democrats say, look, we want to compromise, we're rising above the nastiness. We will go along with this person because they're not nuts, and we're the voice of reason. We still believe in compromise, like the Republicans used to. I mean, is that like? Isn't that an opportunity? And again, I guess I'm living in a different reality.
Saying well, then you have to be able to trust that whoever you're saying that to has the power to hold up their end. You can't negotiate with, I would say you can't negotiate with terrorists, and that's essentially what they are. You can't negotiate with these unserious, burn it down clowns. Unless Hakeem Jeffries can. And I assume if anyone can, he can. So we'll see. Not for us to sit on the sideline wringing our hands. I think the Democrats have good leadership.
Okay. All right.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well, let's enjoy the day as much as we can.
Yeah, you too. You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hey, speaking of enjoying the day, I just want to, there's two things I want to talk about. I have not watched any TV news for some time because I just can't. But I don't know. Are they covering this hurricane in Mexico? It's the only. Maybe I'll just turn on the Weather Channel. But I happen to, read that again, this global warming stuff. That things happening like never before. There's a hurricane in play. It's not going to hit the United States, so I guess we don't care. But it was a tropical storm in the Pacific, and then 12 hours, it went from a tropical storm to a Category 4, something that is unheard of. And then within a second or two, they expect, I don't know where it is now because I'm looking at, I think, old information, that it will be a Category 5 when it hits land, and land looks like Acapulco, which is a city of 1 million people who thought there was a tropical storm off the coast the day before. And you don't run if there's a tropical storm. You run if there's a Category 5. And a city of 1 million people deciding to run at the last minute because a tropical storm turns into a huge hurricane in a second. There is, I hope there's not going to be the kind of, I hope this isn't more, media. I did look at radar, and man, that thing looks ugly and fierce. And there's just not enough time. Usually, as you know, we know this drill. You watch the tropical storm, you watch it maybe intensify. You have sometimes even weeks to figure out what to do, plans, evacuations. This thing, bang! And my understanding is that Acapulco has never had anything this strong hit ever. There's never been a stage 4. I don't even think there's been a stage 3. So there's that. The weather continues to be fascinating. Hey, did you see what they did not far from Mexico? This would be Texas. Again, these Republicans, because that's who runs Texas, and it runs their, this is specifically Lubbock County. The county commission met the other day, and there's a lot of problems there in Lubbock and things that need to be attended to. And you know what they spent their time doing? Well, they decided that it would be illegal for anybody to have a pregnant woman in their car and to travel on the highways seeking an abortion, or even if they paid for the car and let the woman drive herself. If they had anything to do with putting a woman pregnant in a car who is seeking to perhaps go across the border to terminate her pregnancy, to make that, just in case anyone was wondering, a true crime. The city of Amarillo is expected to do the same thing today. I guess pass the same kind of measure. And what this is this would apply to a network of roads and highways that pass through these cities and then lead toward New Mexico or Colorado or Mexico. So the Republicans in Lubbock County have decided to make it a crime for certain people to use the highway. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, how the hell is anybody what are we going to do? Have roadblocks, stop cars to see if there's any pregnant woman in there? And good God in heaven. By the way, just on that subject, the Georgia Supreme Court, you might have known, has said, yeah, no, we agree. They can't have an abortion in this state. So they've doubled down on that. I don't know. I had apropos of nothing, I had an experience the other day. That caused me a great deal of anxiety and then ended happily. So, I mean, that's a good story, right? I don't know if it's a good story, really, but whoa. It was late-ish. It was dark. And I was walking my dog. And we were heading home, and I saw another dog. And this dog was unaccompanied. This dog was clearly by itself, and I really looked around. Is there anybody anywhere, a human that looks like they might belong to that dog? No, there wasn't. And I approached the dog quietly, as did my dog. Really was such a great pal in this effort. So that the dogs met first, and my dog, Blue, just immediately said, "Hey, wanna play?" And the other dog sorta, but just really seemed a little troubled, like lost or something, but didn't necessarily leave. As I tried to get closer to see the dog, he pulled away. And so my efforts to get close enough to the dog to read, he did have a tag, to read his tag was proving difficult. And the dog was not responding to my call. Come on, come here, good girl, good boy, not sure what you are, that's trying, not getting very far. And, cars are coming by, and I'm scared to death this dog's going to get hit. And the dog then does bolt across the street. "Oi," say I. So I and Blue bolt across the street as well. And then he goes into a yard, and I try to follow, and I'm worried that people in the house will see, "Who is there? A woman in our yard, and she's skulking through the bushes." Anyway, this cat and mouse thing went on for, I don't know, seemed like a million years. And I am not the most mobile of souls at this point. I have this brace on my leg. I just don't move very easily or quickly. So walking up, I really wasn't sure what to do. And I couldn't seem to get my hands on the dog. But eventually, because I told you it has a happy ending, I did. And once I had my hands on it, I couldn't read I couldn't read it. And then I had the problem of what do I do? I was close enough to my house. I thought, we got to get home, the three of us. And so this is where having a good dog is wonderful. I took my dog off his leash. I put the leash on the lost dog, and the three of us made our way to my house. And once we got in the house, I was eventually able to get a good look at the dog's tag. And the first thing I saw was it said, "I am deaf," which explained a lot of stuff that because he seemed like such a nice dog and not fearful, really. but he hadn't been. So anyway, he was deaf. And then there was a phone number. I called the phone number and I got the mailbox is full. And then I saw the address and it was not far even from where I'd seen him. And so back we went. And here's a peeve. There are a lot of houses where you, in the dark, maybe even in the light, you cannot see a house number. You can't. And so, I mean, I'm really looking where, and I narrow it down. Well, it seems it would have to be that house or this house, but then it wasn't. And I end up knocking on a door. Now, I don't know about you, but a lot of people these days, if you get a knock on the door or somebody ringing your doorbell at, I don't know, past 9 o'clock, you would be, what? You fill in the blank. Some people would not open it. Well, you know me, I told you before, I don't even open it if it's broad daylight. So I was not, but there were lights on. And thank God this guy comes to the door. And he helped me because he did say it was the house next door, which you couldn't see a number. And he said, I think they do. Yeah, they have a black and white dog. And he seemed to recognize it. Whatever. He helped. So I said, thank you. I mean, mostly I said, thank you for opening the door. I mean, really, thank you. And then I went back to the house next door. I rang the doorbell. No answer. I rang it, meaning I am serious. No answer. I looked in the window. There were lights on. I banged, nothing. And so whatever. Anyway, I'm standing there on the porch and stayed there for a little while. And then I see someone on a bicycle with a flashlight heading up the street. And I called out to him. I said, are you looking for a dog by any chance? Yes, he said. And it was not the owner, but it was a friend of the owner who had been called and asked to do what he was doing, looking for the dog. So, phew. And I was so happy that everything turned out okay. And I had a little adventure. And then, damn, if the next night, that was 2 nights ago, the next night I'm walking again, and I see the guy who had opened his door. He's taken out his garbage. And I thanked him again. And damn, we got into an hour-long, I swear, conversation about Palestine, Israel. We were not necessarily on the same side, but it was a very nice conversation. Respectful listening on both sides, no voices raised. And that was something wonderful as well. And I'm done talking about just to hell with it. I'm not talking about any more news. But oh, wait a minute. I've got some emails to share here. Russ writes, I'm frustrated. As frustrated as I am with the GOP, I'm almost equally frustrated with the Democrats and their inability to take advantage of this shit show. Well, you're right. We don't play the game like the Republicans do. I'm not sure what I'm expecting them to do, says Russ, but they seem to just be sitting back and hoping people get disgusted and vote the GOP out. Well, it can't just be that because my God, the election's not for more than a year. And I'm sure the Republicans are thinking, well, that's almost a year away where they're going to hold us accountable for this shit show. But obviously, it ain't going to help them. Russ says something needs to change. Feeling helpless in America. I voted by ballot yesterday, still trying. I voted by, I sent mine in the other day too. I do like that. That is nice to feel, I did it. Done. Yeah. Us agreeing with anything you said. Oh my God. Tracy has sent me this. Jenna Ellis, who, as you know, has pled guilty to a felony in the service of Donald Trump, who has called herself, right, the server of Jesus Christ. God, poor Jesus. What the hell did he ever do? He hasn't been through enough? Okay, so her tearful guilty plea yesterday, she has taken time out. I'm so proud of her. Today, she's tweeting. And she says, Representative Mike Johnson was my choice for speaker from the beginning. Clap, clap, clap. Let's do this today. That's nice. What I would say to you, Jenna, shut the fuck up. So anyway, what I did yesterday on that beautiful day was I raked leaves. You know, I hate blowers. They make noise and they pollute the air and they make hurricanes like it's hitting Acapulco, and I just can't do it. So I'm raking leaves, and I had read an article. And this is what I'm doing. It literally, totally, I knew it was true. It was in, was it the New York Times or the Washington Post? I don't know. But it says, stop it. Stop bagging those leaves or whatever. Stop it. It says that pile of leaves is home to an entire ecosystem filled with critical organic matter. You shouldn't pile them up at all. If anything, spread them out. You need to leave the leaves. Because they return. It's God's great plan. They return organic material to the soil. So here's a professor of horticulture, and she says a forest has the richest soil there is. Why? Because leaves are falling off the trees and decomposing right there. And the organic materials go back into the soil. And we need to be doing that in our own landscapes, but we are not. So you know what I've been doing? I've been raking the leaves and then bundling them up and then spreading them and then pouring them into the parts of my yard, like around the trees. And I have a place that, I'm saving as many of them as I can to do what they were meant to do. They say that leaf layer is home to invertebrates, reptiles, amphibians, pollinators, moths, butterflies. Many of them rely on that layer to complete their life cycle. More than 90% of moth species attach themselves to leaves and spend the winter in cocoons buried among them. And then they, in turn, become a critical food supply for birds. So when you're, I look at all these perfectly clean lawns around my house, and all that says to me is that there is essentially a Holocaust has happened. There is literally the wiping out of entire populations of pollinators. This is what we do. Ideally, you should rake your leaves directly into garden beds and scatter them around the roots and the stems of plants about 3 to 5 inches deep. That's what I'm now doing. You could also rake them into a compost pile and let them decompose over the course of the year and then apply that later. But it depends, I know, on your own. The very worst thing it says is just put them in a trash bag and send them to the landfill. Don't do that. So stop it or rethink it. Rethink it. I'm just saying. I just feel real good about now looking out at my backyard and thinking I'm helping create a thriving ecosystem out there through the winter. If I need to clean things up a little bit in the spring, well, that's why there's such a phrase as spring cleaning. Okay? Hey, thank you very much for being here with me. I'll be back tomorrow because I don't know any better.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.